What is up, basketball fans? You know who I am, and in the words of the great Marshawn Lynch, you know why I'm here.
You know why I'm here. You know why I'm here.
We're talking basketball, and more excitingly, we are talking NBA playoffs. So I'm here today to put some teams on upset alert. Because we've had a couple of decisions early on in these playoffs go maybe with results that we weren't necessarily expecting. And I'm here today to help us figure out which teams are for real and might actually pull off the upset, and which teams are just, overachieving and punching way above their weight class right now. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to kick things off here by discussing which the three matchups we're actually looking at here. I was tempted to include the Jazz and the Nuggets in this as well, but I don't feel like Denver is that much better of a team than the Jazz to really consider it an upset. I do think Denver is the better team. I just think the fact that they're being separated by like 2 wins right now, despite the fact that the Jazz are missing a couple pieces, I don't think that's enough to truly qualify as an upset. So we're not going to talk about the series. The series we are going to be looking at are Magic versus the Bucks. We're going to be looking at the Blazers and the Lakers, and we're going to be looking at the Mavericks and the Clippers. Now, let's see who's high on upset alert. So we'll kick things off with the Magic and the Bucks.
Are you serious?
And somehow, some way, Orlando keeps managing to take games off superior competition in the first game of the playoffs. They did it last year with the Raptors, and they've done it this year with the Bucks. Now, at the time of this recording, the series count still stands 1-0. By the end of this video, it will be a different count, but I don't think it really matters to the end result of this video anyways. I don't think there's any way that Giannis is going to let the Bucks lose this series. So help me God, the role players are doing their best on the Bucks to try and lose this series. If you watch game 1, some of the supporting cast there were just not good and just did not show up for Giannis. That being said, he's way too good of a player to let his team lose to this inferior competition. I think Giannis will drag this team kicking and screaming to the second round if he has to. But I mean, if he doesn't, I appreciate the Magic all but gift wrapping Giannis to, a new suitor like Toronto?
We said meh. M-E-H. Meh.
Now, next up, we're going to talk about the Mavericks and the Clippers. I remember looking at this matchup and thinking, this isn't your average 7th seed by any means. The Mavs may be a little suspect on the defensive end, that's for sure, but they're led by their young superstar, ever-improving Luka Doncic, and they also have a resurgent Kristaps Porzingis, who looks like he's really getting into form after, the comeback from his injury. Initially, it looked like it had slowed him down for a little bit. Those two guys, surrounded by some good role players on the Mavericks, and a historically great offense, is seemingly making this a series. At the time of this video being recorded, the count is 1-1, although if Kristaps doesn't get bounced in, the first game of the series, it very easily could be 2-0 Mavericks right now. Like, Luka continues to just be so incredibly just impressive. Obviously, he set the record for the most points in his playoff debut. Then he set a record for the quickest player to 70 points in their careers in the NBA playoffs, naturally. So it's just interesting to see, where does it end for Luka? How spectacular can this guy be?
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
By all means, he's not your average second-year player. I would argue he's for sure already a top 10 player. It's about how far up the top 10 would you put him at this point. Because think about the fact that he's going up against the best perimeter defending team in basketball right now in the Clippers, and he looks fine. And he looks barely bothered. Sure, he had turnover issues in the first game, and he had a little bit of foul trouble in the second game as well that kind of held him back. But for the most part, he got out of both those games looking very impressive against the likes of Kawhi Leonard, against the likes of Paul George, against the likes of Patrick Beverley, Marcus Morris. What I'm rambling on and on about is this Mavericks team could really get the upset here. I don't think they're going to. I think in the long run the Clippers have too much talent and they'll end up putting it together. But if we're looking at the upset alert levels on this matchup, it's definitely a lot higher than the Magic and the Bucks. I would put this as a, yeah, I mean, there's reason to be scared if I'm the Clippers, but ultimately you still kind of would like to think you're the better team here and you could take this in a 7-game series if it comes to that.
Ruh-roh.
You'll have to excuse me for a second because I do have to check my watch here. That's what I thought. It's Dame time. So we're talking about the Blazers and the Lakers for the last series here. And I think this is the very obvious high alert for the upset. The Blazers come in as not your average 8 seed by any means. When healthy, they're really a middle of the pack team in the Western Conference. So if you ever want to use the term quote unquote fake 8 seed, this is absolutely it. Let's start off with the Lakers side of it. So for the Lakers, their shooting, in particular their 3-point shooting in the bubble, has been woeful. Jesus Christ, the amount of just upset and outraged Lakers fans I have seen crying about KCP, Danny Green, and I mean to good reason, but nonetheless, it has just been incredibly entertaining. Like, Lakers fans are looking for a refund of Danny Green's contract if they can find one right now.
Yeah, that hurt? That hurt? What the hell? Yeah, that don't feel so good, does it? No, huh? Yeah, that's what happens, man. Oh my God! Yeah, that's what happens. With the money.
And Jesus, at this point, I just think they're throwing something at the screen every time that KCP pulls up for an open shot. Things haven't been good. Things haven't been good for them in scoring. And even if you look at game 1, LeBron did have a historic triple-double, the first of its kind in NBA playoffs. I believe it was the first 2015 and 15 in NBA history or something of the sorts. But nonetheless, it wasn't enough. And I feel like part of the reason why it wasn't enough is because there just seems to be a lack of aggression from LeBron James. And usually it's attributed to the fact throughout the regular season, they're just like, oh, you know what, whatever, this is just regular season LeBron, wait for playoff LeBron. Playoff LeBron is a killer. And don't get me wrong, playoff LeBron is absolutely a killer. It's just, I mean, I know it's been one game, but he just did not look like that killer in the playoffs that everybody kind of expects from him. Maybe it's the fact that he is playing more of a position or a role with the Lakers that demands him to be a facilitator first, but I feel like he needs to attack more for the Lakers. The Blazers don't have anybody that should be able to guard LeBron. They absolutely don't. And LeBron needs to take advantage of that and go drop a cool 35, 40 every game. But obviously through one game in the series so far, when this is being recorded, he hasn't done that. He absolutely hasn't done that. So we'll see if that changes. But nonetheless, another thing that's just really working in the Blazers' favor is they've obviously been in playoff mode ever since entering the bubble. They've been running playoff minutes in all of their matchups that they've been at the bubble because they needed to fight and claw to get into this 8 seed. And now they're battle tested, they're hungry, and they're feeding off the energy that Damian Lillard has given them. And they're coming for the Lakers like they have something to prove. So, does this series actually have a chance of being the upset? If I was going to pick any of the series here that could tilt to the underdog, I would probably pick this one. I like the Mavericks as well, a lot, but that's mostly because I'm a Luka stan. But for real, this is the matchup I would look at and think, yeah, the bottom seed absolutely has a great chance to win here. Do I think it happens in the long run? I'm still going to bank no.
I also like to live dangerously.
I think LeBron ultimately is going to end up being too much for this Blazers team. And dear God, I hope I'm right about that, because otherwise so many of my playoff predictions are going to look stupid because I do have the Lakers going all the way. So, come through, LeBron, damn it. I need you.
I have a bad feeling about this.
What do you folks think? Do you think that the Blazers are really the team that can pull off an upset here in the first round? Do you think the Mavericks might have it in them? And if you think the Magic have it in them, please, I really want to hear your case for this. Nonetheless, folks, It's been a pleasure as usual. Drop a comment below if you have a hot take. Like the video, share it if you can. It's always greatly appreciated. Other than that, folks, I am out of here.